So I'm going to be talking about all the fighters from UFC 291 should fight next. So starting off with the winner of the first fight of the night, Miranda Maverick. I think Miranda Maverick should fight Julia Storyalenko. I think that makes sense. Storyalenko just had that big win over Molly McCann, and Maverick just beat Priscilla, so yeah, makes sense. Same timeline, so not really much going into that one. And then moving on to the loser, even though it's a $1 billion company, they don't have a name on there, but that's Priscilla Cachoeira. So Priscilla should fight Veronica Macedo next, or Veronica Hardy, whatever they call her. Makes all the sense in the world to me. Then we'll move on to the next fight, which was in the welterweight division between Matthew Semi the Jedi Semmelsberger and Uros Medic. Uros the Doctor Medic. So with this fight, we'll start off with Uros Medic. I think, because he's going to be high up in the rankings with a win over Matt Semmelsberger, so I reckon you do Uros Medic. There's two options for him here. You either do him versus Muslim Salikov, which would be a fun little kickboxing match, or you do Uros Medic versus Chaos Williams. Now, I just reckon that would just be an absolute fun fight. Chaos Williams isn't the most technical guy, but he's got power. He beat Matthew Semmelsberger, and it's a step up for Uros Medic. Makes all the sense. A lot of people didn't think Chaos Williams won his last fight as well, so you can't really give him a ranked fighter or somebody high up the rankings, so that makes sense to me. So we'll move on to the prelims now. So Jake Matthews got a win over Darius Flowers. There's a bit of controversy in that one, obviously, because some people thought he got a TKO. Originally, I was saying maybe Jake Matthews versus Brian Battle or rebook him against Miguel Beza, but fight that makes a lot of sense, in my opinion, would be if you do Jake Matthews versus Nicholas Dalby. Dalby's on a little bit of a run at the moment, and, Jake Matthews just beat Flowers, so he should probably get a little bit of a step up. Not crazy, and Dalby's only a little bit up the rankings, so that would make sense to me. Matthews versus Dalby. And then maybe the winner gets a ranked opponent, or somebody who'll get them a ranked opponent. Makes sense to me. And then for Darius Flowers, he said that he's going to be moving back down to lightweight, which makes sense. He also said he's going to be a double champ. He said he's going to win the lightweight belt and then go to featherweight. He used to fight at middleweight, so that's interesting. But I think a fight that would make a lot of sense would be if you did Darius Flowers versus probably Victor Martinez. That'd probably make a lot of sense. Both 0-1 in the UFC. Victor Martinez got finished by Jordan Levitt, if I'm thinking of the right guy. Yeah, he did. He got TKO'd by Jordan Levitt. That was an interesting way to lose to Jordan Levitt. But yeah, that makes sense to me. So yeah. Then moving up the card, got Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro in the middleweight division. Now, I had a fight for Roman Kopylov, off the top of my head. Let me just go check the rankings. I guess Roman Kopylov, where even is this guy in the rankings? Wow, is he really? Wow, he's really far back. I think because he's on a free fight winning streak and he's beat some decent guys, not crazy good guys, but I think it would make some sense if you did Roman Kopylov versus the winner of Gerald Meerschaert, Andre Petroski. If not, you could do him versus Andre Muniz, just outside the rankings. So that would make some sense. And then for Claudio Ribeiro, he's in an interesting spot. You could do Claudio Ribeiro versus Brian Barberena, I guess. I guess that makes some level of sense. If Brian Barberena is going to keep fighting at middleweight. I know I gave Barberena a matchup last week, but yeah, if not that, you could do Ribeiro versus Christian Leroy Duncan. That'd be a good fight. I'd have Leroy Duncan winning that, but you never know. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting what you could do with Ribeiro. You could also have Ribeiro fight the winner of Josh Fremd's Jamie Pickett as well. So yeah, I don't know. Middleweight booking is really weird because it will end up being some really random matchup. So then moving on to the next fight, which is Vicious Salvador versus CJ Vergara. This was a interesting fight to say the least. Not really a crazy good fight, but not like a horrible snooze fest either. So I think CJ Vergara should fight. What's he even in? So he's 2-2 in the UFC. Won his last two. I reckon you do CJ Vergara versus Malcolm Gordon. That makes some little level of sense. And then for Vicious Salvador, you could do him. You could. I know Daniel Lareida. I think he signed a new contract because he's fighting Edgar Chairez. So I guess if he wins or loses, if they still keep him in the UFC, you could rebook him De Silva versus Salvador. That makes sense. And then, yeah, I'm surprised De Silva keeps staying in the UFC, but his fights are really fun. So I do understand that level of reasoning. Okay, now we move on to the feature fight of the prelims, which was Gabriel Bonfim versus Trevin Giles. So we start off with the winner, Gabriel Bonfim. He had a really good performance in that fight. So I think he should get like a decent step up, but just outside the rankings. So I think Gabriel Bonfim versus Alex Morono makes a lot of sense. You know, Alex Morono is also from Texas. I think he's done some training with Trevin Giles, so maybe he want to avenge his friend, so that makes sense there. Then for Trevin Giles, I'd like to see Trevin Giles versus Trevin Giles versus the winner of Ange Loosa, Reese McKee. I reckon that makes a lot of sense in my opinion. So that'll be a good one. Okay, now moving on to the main card. So starting off with the first fight, also in the welterweight division. There were a lot of welterweight fights on here, and Wonderboy versus Michel Pereira was also meant to be on here. So, you know, this was like a welterweight showcase card pretty much. So Kevin Holland got a really good win against Michael Chiesa, like really good. Like he looked fucking amazing in that fight. Where is he? Where have they ranked where have they ranked? Okay, there's Kevin Holland there. So Kevin Holland just beat Chiesa, so he'll probably be stepped up to about 10 or 11 or something in the rankings. So I reckon Holland versus obviously, fucking hell, I just had a brain fucking fart there. Yeah, Kamaru Usman versus Kevin Holland's the fight to make. There's already a built-in storyline there. They've got beef, you know. Sorry, it's a little unprofessional of me. My mind wandered off there for a second. Yeah, Kevin Holland versus Kamaru Usman makes all the sense in the world, in my opinion. That's the fight to run. And then for Michael Chiesa. Now, Michael Chiesa's in like an interesting spot coming off that loss. I reckon do Michael Chiesa versus either you rebook him against the Leech, because I don't know when the Leech is coming back because he has like all them back problems. But you could also do him against Gunnar Nelson. It's a fight he's called for. So Gunnar Nelson versus Michael Chiesa, that makes all the sense in the world to me. And yeah, that'd be a good fight. I doubt, just because he's a grappler, Michael Chiesa probably won't get subbed in that fight. He only gets subbed by strikers, so that'd be an interesting dynamic. Now we move on to the next fight. Bobby Green versus Tony Ferguson. Oh, goodness. Okay. So, Bobby Green should fight Jim Miller. He wants Jim Miller at UFC 300. That makes all the sense to me. Unless he gets another fight in this year, he could fight Paddy Pimblett in December maybe, but I think he'll end up fighting Jim Miller. They've been booked against each other about 3 or 4 times, so UFC 300, Bobby Green versus Jim Miller makes all the sense. And as for Tony Ferguson, man, Fuck, Tony Ferguson, what do we do with you? Obviously, I don't think he should be fighting anymore, but he's going to anyway, so yeah, let's not even get into that. Okay, Tony Ferguson should fight. Honestly, Tony Ferguson versus. Okay, let me go real back. Fuck, man, this is hard. Like, I'm trying to find a fight that isn't like really unfair for him, but isn't. Honestly, maybe you got to do Tony Ferguson versus Ashlyn Jubilee. Like, I'm not even kidding at this point. Jubilee will probably, but Jubilee doesn't deserve Tony Ferguson. He hasn't won a fight in the UFC technically. I know he won that. Oh, I mean, he won the road to UFC. That was technically, but maybe. Oh, fuck it, dude. Trevor Peek versus Tony Ferguson. That's the like fight I can think of. Trevor Peek's got no striking defense. He fights really crazy. I feel like that would be a winnable fight for Tony just because Trevor Peek can gas out. But I don't want to see Tony fight again. But if we really got to see Tony fight again, Tony Ferguson versus Trevor Peek makes all the sense. If Tony does fight again, which obviously I don't think he should. He's on a 6-fight losing streak. Might be a bit of a rough fight, but yeah, I feel like that's what you got to do next. Tony Ferguson, very sad. Anyway, moving on. Derek Lewis got a really big KO over DeLima, and I think the fight that makes this most sense is Derek Lewis versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I don't know what's happening with Rozenstruik. I know I said originally that Marcin Tybura should fight him, but I'm more thinking maybe Tybura should fight like a... I don't even know. Tybura can just sit out for a bit. He took a big KO loss to Tom Aspinall anyway, so... Yeah, I reckon Lewis and Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik didn't take any damage against Almeida, and Lewis didn't take any damage whatsoever against DeLima, so... Yeah, that makes all the sense you can imagine. Like, I don't know, I think it's pretty obvious. And then moving on, we had the co-main event, which was Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz. Starting off with the winner, Alex Pereira. Obviously, easy fight to make. Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prohaska, vacant UFC light heavyweight championship. Makes all the absolute sense in the world, you know. Easy fight to make, easy fight to promote. It's a fun fight. They're brawlers. You know, they're not brawlers, but they're bangers. Like, it's going to just be an absolute war. So that makes a lot of sense there, in my opinion. And then you got the main event, which was Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. I think Justin Poirier, fucking hell. Justin Gaethje got the win with a fucking head kick KO. I think Justin Gaethje should fight the winner of Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira too, especially if it's Islam. Like, I love Volk, but Volk has to beat Topuria first, which will probably be in like December, and you know Gaethje has probably earned his title shot. You know, big KO over Dustin Poirier, beat a rising contender in Rafael Fiziev, so makes a lot of sense there. Now Dustin Poirier, this is where it gets really tricky, because he says he's not going to fight any up-and-coming prospects. He's just going to fight fights that interest him, but I know he says that, but I don't give a fuck. I want to see Dustin Poirier versus Rafael Fiziev if he beats Gamrot. Fiziev's 30. He's not that much... Like, he's not really like a young up-and-comer, really, when you think about it. He's like an established contender, really. Like, it's not really a big age gap between him and Dustin. Like, it's not crazy. It's like 5 years. So when Dustin finally gets the motivation to fight again, you got to do Rafael Fiziev versus Dustin Poirier. Just take my money. That fight would be amazing. Like, there's no way that fight would suck. So do it. Do that fight, please. I beg. Like, Dustin, please, if you're watching this, which I highly doubt you are, please take the fight against Rafael Fiziev. If he beats Gamrot, of course. Because that's just like a fight everybody wants to see. And it's winnable. Like, that's a winnable fight for Dustin. If he can, like, gas Fiziev out, Dustin's got really good finishing instincts. He could just beat the shit out of him against the cage if he gasses. Like, I don't know. It makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah, that's all the fights. I want to see next after UFC 291. I do every single fight. Even if I don't care about a certain fight, I'll still find somebody for them to fight, because I want to be the UFC matchmaker one day. So, yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and catch you when I make the next video. Thank you.